The story begins in a small village where people once welcomed travelers with open hands. That trust was shattered by a smooth-tongued merchant who sold them bowls that cracked within days and fabrics that lost their color before the next rainfall. The shame was heavier than the loss of money. Each villager carried the feeling that they had been foolish, and so they became suspicious of anyone who approached. When the square, once filled with chatter, turned silent, you could hear even the well echo with doubt. Then came Aaron. He did not arrive with music, nor with promises. His cart was modest, his robe plain, his manner unhurried. Instead of calling for attention, he swept the ground beside the well and sat down, as if he had all the time in the world. The people, still nursing wounds of betrayal, whispered each other, "Another one. He will try the same tricks." But Aaron only waited. His silence was not emptiness. It was patience. A widow finally stepped forward. She carried a plate, cracked across its center. She asked what could be done. Aaron tapped it gently, listened to the dull sound, and said, "This cannot be repaired. It was fired too quickly. But I can give you another, if you wish." The woman frowned. She expected a tale of false fix or at least sweet words. Instead, she was given truth, plain and unsweetened. That small truth cut through months of suspicion more than any promise could. Children followed. One brought a broken comb, another a chipped spoon. Aaron traded fairly, never hiding flaws, never praising what was not good. Each honest word became a brick, and brick by brick a bridge began to rebuild. The villagers started to gather not because they wanted to be entertained, but because they wanted to see what honesty looked like when practiced in daylight. On the third day, the old deceiver returned. He expected the same applause as before, the same easy customers. He raised his voice, unrolled his fabrics, promised that his goods were the finest in all lands. But this time, the villagers had learned a new habit. They asked questions. Will the color hold in water? Will this grain last in storage? Show us proof. The man's words stumbled. His silks trembled under a simple bucket of water. His grain gave off the smell of damp. The louder he shouted, the quieter the crowd became. Even he could hear it, the silence of people who no longer believed. Anger did not chase him. Logic did. And logic left no cracks for trickery to hide in. That evening, when the crowd had gone, the man returned alone, holding a crooked bowl he had made with his own hands. He asked Aaron, "Can this be fixed?" Aaron answered softly, "No, but you can keep it as a reminder. You cannot repair the clay, but you can repair yourself." The man swallowed his pride and spoke his real name, Renu. It was the first honest thing he had given in years. The villagers did not cheer, but they allowed him to stand among them, not as a trickster, but as a man ready to begin again. Redemption did not come with applause. It came with acceptance. From that day forward, the village shifted. They did not measure merchants by words, but by actions. They tested before they trusted. They asked for evidence, not promises. Aaron continued to trade quietly, never raising his voice above reason, until the habit of honesty was stronger than the memory of lies. When he finally left, he left nothing flashy behind, only a way of living. The well was no longer just a place for water. It became a place for truth. And in the end, Renu did not vanish. He worked at the blacksmiths, learned to measure with accuracy, and spoke less. He did not become a hero. He became useful. Sometimes that is the greater transformation. When Aaron left the village, his cart rolling slowly into the horizon, people thought for a moment they might miss him. But then they realized what he had left was not in the cart at all. It was in their habits. They had learned to measure. to test, to speak plainly. That same logic applies to the smallest rooms of our lives today. In families, honesty is not a grand speech. It is keeping your word about the little things. If you say you'll be home for dinner, you come. If you can't, you say so early. Children, like those in the square, watch carefully. They don't trust because of our titles. They trust because of our patterns. And when mistakes happen, as they always do, it is not the apology alone that heals, but the change repeated until the wound closes. In work, it is no different. A leader who promises the sky, but delivers excuses will see teams scatter. But one who speaks carefully, admits what cannot be done, and proves reliability through small, steady acts. Such a leader rebuilds trust even after storms. Honesty does not need decoration. It needs evidence. Even online, where words are cheap and images are polished, the same law holds. People no longer believe the loudest voice. They measure. Does this person return tomorrow with the same integrity as today? Do they show evidence or only noise? Step by step, we train our communities just as that village was trained, by the weight of proof over the sweetness of words. Think of the well in the village, not as a stone circle, but as a symbol. It was where people gathered to check the truth. Today, our wells may be dinner tables, team meetings, or even comment sections. Wherever people meet, there must be a place where honesty can be tested. If the water is clear, the community thrives. If the water is poisoned with deceit, trust evaporates. So, how do we protect our wells? We do it by practicing what Aaron left behind. Ask for proof, kindly, not to shame, but to clarify. Give proof without performance. Offer your reasons and your results, not your slogans. Remember the broken bowl. Mistakes are part of the story. What matters is whether they become reminders or repeat performances. Life will always bring us tricksters, sometimes in others, sometimes in ourselves. The cure is not suspicion of everything, but patience with evidence. This is how trust doesn't just return, but stays. So the story of Aaron in the village is not really about merchants at all. It is about us, about how we choose to trade in the marketplace of relationships. Will we offer words alone, or will we back them with proof? Will we hide our names, or will we speak them plainly? If this story has reminded you of someone who quietly rebuilt your trust, maybe a parent, a friend, or even yourself, pause and share this video with them. Leave a comment with one habit of honesty you want to strengthen this week. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe so these wells of wisdom keep flowing into your days. In the weeks after Aaron left, the village slowly discovered something remarkable. They no longer needed him to feel safe. At first, they checked each other nervously, but soon those checks became natural, like drawing water from the well each morning. Trust was no longer a fragile glass. It was a woven rope, strong because many hands held it. Even Renu, once a deceiver, found a rhythm. He spoke less, worked more, and slowly, people stopped seeing him as a trickster and started seeing him as a neighbor. That is a logic of truth. It doesn't vanish when a teacher leaves. It multiplies when people practice it together. The village no longer applauded loud promises. They honored quiet consistencies. And when travelers passed through, they learned quickly. Here, you could not charm your way to profit. You had to prove yourself day by day. Silence became the applause. When no one questioned your words because your actions had already spoken, that was the highest honor. And perhaps it is the gift Aaron truly left, a silence filled not with suspicion, but with peace. So, what do we take from this story? Sitting here centuries later, listening through a screen instead of a well, The lesson is simple, but not easy. Truth is not declared once. It is lived again and again. In your family, it may look like keeping a promise to call. In your friendships, it may mean telling a hard thing gently instead of the easy thing falsely. In your work, it may be choosing results over excuses. And in your own heart, it may be admitting the crooked bowls you've made and beginning again with better hands. Trust is the slowest thing to build and the fastest thing to break. But if you build it carefully, like Aaron did, it will hold even after you are gone. That is why this story matters. Not because it happened long ago, but because it is happening every day wherever humans trade words, promises, and lives with each other. If this story has touched you, take a moment, share, and comment below. Tell us, what is one small habit of honesty you want to practice this week? Your words might be the stone that ripples another person's well. And if you want more stories like this, more reminders that slow truth is stronger than fast lies, subscribe now and let's keep building this village together. Across screens, across cities, across time. There was once a town divided by a river. For years, people crossed on a wooden bridge built by their grandparents. It creaked, but it held. Children played on it. Elders leaned on its rails, and travelers passed without fear. Then, one winter, the town council decided the bridge was too plain and hired a builder who promised something better. He spoke loudly of strength, painted bright pictures, and charged dearly. When the new bridge was unveiled, it shone with fresh paint and tall arches. People clapped, proud of their progress. But within months, the paint peeled, the wood warped, and one stormy night a section collapsed, leaving two families stranded on opposite banks. The builder was gone by then, chasing another contract in another town. What remained was silence, suspicion, and a broken path where trust had once lived. Spring came, and with it a quiet carpenter named Mira. She did not promise grand arches or shining paint. She asked only to examine the old beams that still lay in the water. Day after day, she worked in silence, pulling planks, sanding them, fitting nails where rot had taken hold. The townspeople watched, skeptical. "She's too slow," they muttered. "She'll never finish." But children noticed something. Each board she replaced rang true when struck. No hollow sound, no hidden weakness. Slowly, families began to cross again, first with baskets of fruit, then with heavier loads. Mira never boasted. She simply pointed to the wood and said, "Test it yourself." Trust grew not from her words, but from their own footsteps. One afternoon, a wealthy trader visited. He laughed at Mira's plain bridge and told the townspeople he could finish it in a week with cheap stone and bright banners. Some were tempted. They remembered the thrill of the grand unveiling and longed for applause again. But others had learned the way to collapse. "A week of building cannot erase years of crossing," one elder said. "We will keep Mira's pace." The trader left, angry that his promises had no buyers. Mira kept working, patient as the river. She taught a few boys and girls how to measure wood, how to listen for the sound of strength. "One day," she told them, "this bridge will not be mine. It will be yours." By the next winter, the bridge stood strong again. No banners, no speeches, just footsteps. The townspeople realized they no longer needed to argue about promises. They could test the bridge with their own weight. Mira packed her tools and moved on, leaving behind not just a bridge but a way of thinking. The town never forgot the collapse, but they also never forgot the lesson. Trust is not built by speed or show. It is built by steady hands, tested wood, and the patience to prove each plank. And so the bridge became more than wood and nails. It became a reminder. Every relationship, every promise, every community is a bridge. Shiny words can build arches that crumble. Quiet work builds paths that last. So the story of Mira's bridge is not really about wood, nails, or rivers. It is about us. Each day, we are either building or breaking a bridge with our families, our work, our communities, even with ourselves. Shiny promises may impress for a moment, but they collapse when storms arrive. Quiet, steady actions, those are the planks that last. When you speak the truth gently, when you keep your word in small things, when you prove your intentions through patience, you are laying another board across the river of doubt. One day, someone you love will step across that bridge and feel safe because of you. That is how trust survives storms. That is how communities heal. If this story touched something in you, take a moment now. Press like so more people find it. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And comment below with one bridge you are building in your life today. And if you want more stories like this, stories that remind us of the strength hidden in patience and honesty, subscribe and walk with us again. Because in the end, the strongest bridges are not built once. They are carried in the habits we practice every single day.